Welcome back to Investing with Confidence. As always, I am your host, Joshua David, and we always have a great time in studio talking about the financial markets, which is the stock market, these leveraged assets, futures, Forex, options, cryptocurrency, just different ways that average investors can hopefully make smarter investing decisions, and hopefully we can inspire people to do things a little bit differently, not just be a sheep and follow what TV says to do. Make your own decisions. I think we're in a world right now where I think people want to make their own decisions, not be told what to do, especially in their financial accounts. We do have investing classes right here in Bloomington. They're actually free that I want to invite people to. Al teaches these and goes into all the different topics in the markets, introducing you to different strategies. Just call 952-814-4410. You can also text the word invest to the number 484848. So, Al, we talked about Roblox. We talked about Robinhood. And Robinhood, you were mentioning, had a little flack for some of the different things they were doing. Their business practices is what you would call it in the legal world, right? Even though I'm not an attorney, I sure sound like one. But let's talk about AMC and GME. Let's start off with GameStop, which is GME, which back in, really this stock was kind of I would say it was basically a dog for many years, right? Sitting around $13 a share, $10 to $13 a share. Basically flat. And for our YouTube listeners, if you see the chart here, it just went flat to straight up, and then straight down, straight up again, straight down again, and actually did that 2 or 3 more times, which basically has been very emotional for traders and investors. So basically going from like $13 a share all the way up to over $460 a share. Right now, currently at about $127 per share, which, a lot of volatility with this stock, and the typical buy and holders haven't done very well, right? So that's why it's so important to understand these different assets, but also how to have a strategy that's designed, as you were talking about in the last section, to buy at wholesale or when it's low and sell at retail when it's high. So with GameStop here, it's down from its highs about 74%. Now, is that a buy? Is this at wholesale now, or is this still technically at a retail price because it was at $10 to $13 for several years? What are your thoughts on GameStop moving forward? And is this just something that you should just maybe even stay away from because it's so wild and crazy?
Well, a company doesn't go from the teens to over $400 basically in a day or two without something unusual happening. And that's really maybe kind of the beginning of what we call the meme stocks.
Yep.
Those are stocks that gain popularity mostly among inexperienced retail traders through social media.
Yeah.
And the big one was Reddit, their Wall Street Bets. There's 11 million members there. And what they decided to do, what they do is, with a meme stock like GameStop, they looked at high short interest. In other words, the hedge funds, the big institutions, felt that GameStop was a bad investment, so they were shorting it. In other words, they thought it was going to go down in value. On the Reddit social media site, it was basically like millions of people getting together saying, let's stick it to the pros. So they started buying stock instead of selling it, causing the hedge funds to have to buy stock to cover their positions, which drove it up more. And it just turned out to be that was called the short squeeze, the GameStop short squeeze. And then it came tumbling down again. So the people that got in the teens and rode it up and got out did fine. But part of that whole strategy by these people was to hold on to it.
Yeah.
It became kind of a cult thing. Yeah. And they did the same thing with AMC, and there were a couple of other companies. They did that with Hertz when Hertz was looking at filing bankruptcy. The same thing happened, and people drove the value of Hertz stock way up. So it was a huge move up, a huge move down, and at some point, all of these stocks will start to trade based on their true value, on fundamentals and value.
Yep.
Part of being a meme stock is being way overvalued, and that was the case with AMC. Now, now that the economy is starting to reopen, people are going to movies again, so there's going to be more value in GameStop. So, now you start looking at that company and looking at where the big institutions, the big players are going to be buying and selling, because that's what's going to drive the movement of that stock going forward.
Yeah, and all those different, opinions and the different fundamental information and just like news that you're talking about, a lot of people wait. They heard that after the move happened. So I'm assuming most regular traders, investors didn't get in at $10 to $13. They maybe got in at a few $100. So because they say, oh wow, this meme stock, we're supposed to go buy this stock, and they're buying these stocks at ultra high prices, and then it moves so fast it went straight down. And that's why in the last section, that's why you were talking about buying as supply and demand, which is where the banks, institutions are buying, and that's where we're designed. It's designed to follow a chart and actually price action on a chart where these institutions or the big money, where it's flowing into and flowing out, but how to identify proper entries and proper exits, not just buying because it's out in the news. And I think a lot of our listeners probably did that, but they want to say, okay, well, hopefully some people got lucky and made some cash there. I really hope that's the case. But the way this stock moved, a lot of people made a bunch of money and lost it all.
Sure.
And that's why you need a strategy to protect your profits as well. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about protecting portfolios coming up here next. But we have a lot of listeners that want to learn more about that strategy. Learn how to buy at wholesale, how to sell at retail, just like the financial institutions do. I'm going to give away 20 tickets for callers 1 through 10 right now. When you call in now, you're going to receive the tickets for the free investing class. Also, some free stock picks. That's going to be included when you get registered for this investing class. So when you call in right now, make sure to ask for those free stock picks. That it is actually identifying and walking you through visually what that looks like, how to make smart investing decisions. Call 952-814-4410, 952-814-4410, or text the word invest to the number 484848. So we talked about GameStop there. And AMC is very similar.
Yeah, I kind of threw that in there. Actually, AMC, there's theaters, and that a lot of people are starting to go to the theaters again.
Yeah, you kind of took my thunder there, but I'm just going to recap a little bit, Al. AMC down about roughly the same thing, 74%, but the price chart for our YouTube watchers, it looks almost identical as far as it went straight up and then straight down. So real quick here, let's get into a longer term perspective here. Not with really AMC because we covered that already, but just portfolios and especially investing accounts. Why people are investing every other Friday with no regards to price. Prices in the markets are most I guess the overall market is technically right around all-time highs. How do you protect your gains now? Because a lot of people are scared to death they're going to lose half of what they have.
And that's a big part of what we cover in these classes too, Josh, is the protection of what you have is critical, especially as you go into retirement. You don't want to work 20, 30, 40 years and then end up having somebody else with the majority of what you have worked so hard for. And that can happen if you don't protect your portfolio. So there are ways of protecting it. Basically, it's almost the same thing as having an insurance policy on a portfolio. You can do that, but my guess is that you've never had a financial advisor talk to you about how to have insurance on your portfolios. How often have you had an advisor talk to you about benefiting in a down market? Because that's another way of protecting your profits. The markets are going to fluctuate. We have up moves in markets, we have bull markets, we have down moves, we have bear markets. And there are ways of benefiting both directions. And actually, there's a third direction, which is sideways. You have the opportunity with the right assets and the right strategies to participate potentially profitably in all three directions, not just one out of three, which is what most of you are doing with the typical Wall Street strategy.
You're just throwing out some tongue twisters here today.
Don't try to repeat that.
I can't even repeat that one
three times.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's another one that you have about a sled or something. We won't do that though on air here. It's a family show. But Al, we have people that have hopefully accumulated the most wealth they've ever had right now in their portfolios, and they want to be able to keep that. And in these investing classes that you teach here in Bloomington, you really cover a lot about protecting your assets, which is your portfolio. Different ways to keep what you have earned over the past, hopefully the last 10 years or so if you've been in the market. But do that with more confidence and consistency. And with these investing classes, you cover that step-by-step, rules-based strategy to really trade any asset. It's not just stocks. Stocks have their place, but there's other assets that you can utilize in your retirement accounts that you may be missing out on. And that's one of those things I think a lot of people don't like, is missing out on opportunities. So call 952-814-4410 for 2 tickets for this investing class right here in Bloomington. You're going to receive some free stock picks when you do that, and within a financial quick start kit, and that'll actually help you get started right away. You can also text the word invest to the number 484848. When you do that, you'll get a text back with a link on a registration page to get set up for this class. They're here during the week, also on the weekend, but we'll also get a call for you to make sure you got the right date that you needed. Coming up next, Al, I want to talk more about portfolios, 401ks, IRAs, the fees within them, and how I'm going to give an analogy of what your portfolio is actually doing right now. It's actually very, I would say it's actually very risky to do. Coming up next.